Welcome, welcome. Thanks for being here, everyone. Welcome to the HSP Club. We are doing a room today, another part of the series, Elevate HSP Voices. I just pinged Kelly, so hopefully we'll get... Hello, Kelly.
Hello.
So good to see you again. Let me just get set up here, make you a mod. Okay. So today in the HSP Club, we're continuing our series, Elevate HSP Voices. And this is a series I started back in October after getting a lot of feedback from different HSPs that were going through big transitions and really to create a container for HSPs to come and experience healing versus talking about healing. So we've had different HSPs come in and share their expertise and really create a container where we can all feel better after we leave this space. And today I'm really excited to talk with Kelly. Kelly and I have been doing rooms in Clubhouse from I want to say springtime. We first were doing regular rooms every single month on relationships and how that impacts HSPs. And then we evolved to different spiritual rooms. And you'll see as we talk to Kelly that she is definitely someone that can hold space for all of those topics and so much more. And I just want to share a little bit about her background. She is calling herself an intuitive teacher and coach. She is also an HSP, and she is very visible on different social media platforms, giving her stance on what we need to do to grow and heal in the spiritual realm. And today we're going to talk about ascension and what that looks like for the highly sensitive person. She'll share different tools and practices, but also because I know she's so intuitive, there'll be different moments in our conversation that maybe she'll share something that we can all experience as part of the experiential practice. So just a little bit about me. I'm an HSP, of course. I created the Highly Sensitive People Club so HSPs could find us. I started holding rooms in the HSP Club back in January of this year. So this has been a roller coaster of a year getting to use this platform and talk with other HSPs from all over the globe, which has been so rewarding. And it also fills my tank in what Elaine Aron calls the Five Necessities. And one of those necessities is building an HSP community and connecting with HSPs on a regular basis. So if you're in this room, you are already in the middle of practicing what is needed for us to survive and thrive as HSPs, according to Elaine Aron. So I'm really excited that you're here. I'm really excited to dig into this conversation. And the format of the room, we will do some interview questions and conversation with just me and Kelly for the first half hour. The second half hour, we will open up the room and allow everyone to come and share their thoughts or ask questions or reflect on anything that we've discussed here. And then maybe at the end, we'll create some sort of practice depending on where we've gone. I'm going to let this go very organically, so we'll see what pops up for us. But I'm just excited to dig in with Kelly because she is someone that I've really deeply connected with over our time in Clubhouse, and she is someone I know and trust that is keen on helping us heal and move through a spiritual journey as an HSP. So I'm excited to share what she has to offer us. And I will go ahead and just mute myself and let you introduce yourself, Kelly, and anything you want to share. And then I'll just go ahead and start asking you some questions. This is Julie.
Thank you so much, my Julie. I am excited about being here today and to have all of you here with us in the room to have this, I call it a transformational conversation. And you're going to see throughout our conversation, as you're listening, as you're taking it in, you're going to feel the shifts within your own being. So I want you to be prepared for that. A little bit about me: I actually have a ministry background. So I began in ministry very early. I was groomed in ministry by way of my family. Most of my family is very steeped in ministry, so I just kind of followed that path up until maybe mid 30s. I began to follow a different path. And what I found was that religion was not enough for me, and I needed to connect deeper with my spirit being, because I truly believe that we are spirit beings wrapped in a flesh suit. And I needed to do that without the boundaries of religion, because I really do believe you can be a spiritual person without having any sort of bondage or traumas that are connected sometimes to religious organizations. And so, something that I began to do, even with my own clients, is I began to implement Ascension, which is the actual practice of integrating your spiritual practice, whatever that is, as an HSP and as an empath, to help to cultivate healing well being overall. And that's something I love doing. I love helping people clear through those blockages. And literally, I'm just a guide. I point them in that direction. I point them toward the way that is best suitable for them. I don't give them the answer. The Spirit always has the answer. I just point them in that direction, and they always seem to be able to follow the light. And I love the HSP Club because it gives us all that platform to really connect deeply. As an empath, I have to connect deeply. I have no surface relationships in my life. And so, one thing that has been pivotal for my own experience as an HSP is to integrate my Ascension Journey so that I could have better overall well being. And I believe that it is helpful for all HSPs and empaths to be able to integrate that. And ultimately, we want to find balance. No matter the situation or circumstance that we're in, we want to achieve balance so that our nervous system isn't going in a frenzy. So that's all I have for right now. Um, I enjoy being in the room. I love that feeling of calmness that I always have when I come in with everyone present here. I'm looking forward to the conversation. I'm looking forward to questions. I'm looking forward to the spirit giving us the answers. This is Kelly.
Thanks, Kelly. I love that. And I just wanted to just spell out the definition of ascension, because I think a lot of times in social media or different platforms, you'll hear this word, but maybe people have associated it with different things, or they're not really clear on the word. So I just pulled up a definition from Google, and it says the definition of ascension is the conscious path of expanding your light, opening your heart, and tuning into higher consciousness and expanding awareness. The meaning of ascension goes deeper than awakening and spirituality, which I thought that last little part, I think that was probably the missing link for me, because I think a lot of times I associated ascension with spiritual awakening or having spiritual practices or evolving your spiritual self. There's a lot of different ways, I guess, to look at it. And I think that's part of the confusion or misunderstanding of the word and what that means. And so that's why I'm really excited to hear Kelly's process on how she integrates Ascension, creates balance with Ascension, and what that might feel like in the body as a highly sensitive person, or what that feels like if we have sensations, or if we are experiencing something that feels very intuitive. What does that look and feel like? So I want to get into those conversations today. But I want to just basically start with a couple questions as far as myself as an HSP and an empath. What was that journey like for you, Kelly? And what was a turning point in terms of embracing this part of yourself and creating a path forward that aligned with your biology versus working against it? What was your journey and path like?
That's a great question. Um, what I was finding um, as I was, at first, I did not know I was a highly sensitive person. I did not know I was an empath. I knew that I was very spiritually gifted. That is only because, I was groomed that way and I understood how to recognize gifts from a church or a religious perspective. What began to change for me is that even though I had spiritual gifts, I wasn't balanced. Even though I had experience in church settings and worship settings, I still was not achieving of the level of balance that I expected to achieve in those environments. And it made me a seeker. So I began to comb through um, just different teachings. Um, I did not specify any sort of religion. I grew up in a Christian household. But if I found anything, any sort of material that was written in regards to Buddhism, I would read it. If it was Hindu, I would read it. If it was written by a monk, I would read it. It didn't matter what the religion was. My connection as a seeker was trying to find the answers of the void that seemed to still be there despite my being in an environment that constantly told me it was a cure for the void. So that is what took me in a different direction, and it wasn't until later on that I figured out that I was an empath, that I was a highly sensitive person, and that I needed certain things so far as my nervous system on the natural side, but there was also things I needed on the spiritual side because I understood that I had a mission on the earth. And because I had a mission in the earth, I needed to make sure that I was on the correct path to achieve that mission. This is Kelly.
I love that. And I love that you recognize that being a highly sensitive person may make this path look a little different, and knowing that we're sensitive. I mean, I want to say I'm sensitive to energies that we don't see. I'm sensitive to that relationship, that spiritual connection I have with myself. And as a highly sensitive person, I lean into that quite often, because I think as a highly sensitive person, we have often um, find it difficult to have deep connections with people. Maybe if they're not a highly sensitive person, like you mentioned, having these kind of surface level relationships. I have a low tolerance for that as well as an HSP. And that's why I think I tend to build relationships with other HSPs more than non HSPs, either naturally, organically, but also being able to recognize when a relationship isn't feeding me, and connecting with those that are willing and able to go deeper on that level of understanding, connection, and even sharing that spiritual experience with one another. So I think that is a deep or that's a great reason to build connections with other HSPs to go through this experience together, because ultimately HSPs have to lean on ourselves a lot. And even when we're in a room with other HSPs, we all are different and unique, but we all are at different stages with our spiritual growth, our personal growth, our HSP awareness. And so everything that we do in that arena is going to look different from our neighbor. And to also share our wins with each other. That's something Kelly and I have shared a lot with one another, is celebrating those moments where you're having that breakthrough, or you're having this spiritual depth, and you're a witness to that and sharing that with one another. I think HSPs get that on a deeper level. So also, I know you mentioned the importance of integration and what that is for creating balance. So do you want to talk a little bit more about integration and balance when it comes to us?
Oh, absolutely. A thought that I had, and as you all are listening, that are in the room, I just want you to um, allow this thought, this statement, to sink in, and it will help you to begin the integration process. Ascension is not just about going higher spiritually. It's about going inward regularly. And if you could just grab that thought, if you can grab that understanding, it helps you to integrate. And when I say integrate, what you're trying to do is you want to achieve the highest timeline, your highest good. I know some of you have heard that before. We want to live in our highest good. Okay? It doesn't mean that we're going to be perfect. No one's going to achieve perfection here. That, that's, we're not going to achieve perfection, but in our thought processes, um, alleviating the triggers that we've always had. This is why ascension is closely connected to healing, because as you continue to go, you're going higher spiritually, of course, so you're more in tune with the energies around you. You're going inward regularly. What am I feeling in my heart center? Does that feel good? Does that make me uneasy? Is this person or this conversation bringing me anxiety? Am I in a room where there is a lot of angst? It helps you to go inward to feel out what's going on in my environment. And when you begin to ground that highest good within you, you're less likely to be knocked off kilter when you come in an environment where there's a lot of angst. I just had an experience where I had to do a 21-day training in very close quarters with another individual, my trainer, of course, who was very anxious. And I understood, because I understand energy and I understand energy fields. I had to, as often as I could, get out of his energy field. So if we were 3 feet apart, I had to get 6 feet apart for a period of time so that I could extend myself out of his energy, ground myself, and then I was able to come back in and continue doing what I was doing. He didn't even know that I was doing it. I would just say, I'm going to run to the bathroom. Because we don't have to make an announcement when we're trying to ground ourselves. Okay. And so when we begin to integrate, the way I integrated my ascension journey is that when I pulled away from him, I would say a prayer, or I would do a meditation as I'm walking to the bathroom or as I'm getting out of his energy field. And it would immediately pull me back into a grounded space. And because I have the ministry background, I have a resource of things that I could use. Ultimately, as a highly sensitive person, you want to have as many resources as possible to be able to bring yourself back into that grounded state and not allow others to change your energy because their energy field is off kilter. And it also helps you to discern what is really going on behind the scenes. And I think that's where the integration comes in. We don't just want to feel that there is something wrong in the room. We want to discern there is something wrong in the room. What should I do to protect my energy? Is there something that needs to be done with me? Am I being triggered by what is happening? And that's where the integration comes in, going higher spiritually, going inward.
I love that. That's a beautiful description. And I think that gives us a clearer idea of what to do in different circumstances, because I think as highly sensitive people, we're aware of those sensations. We are tuning inward, and maybe we don't have a complete awareness of what all of those inner instincts or tugs are trying to tell us. But I love how you shared a personal experience and what that process looks like. I think putting words to that is really helpful. And I would love to hear more of the different specific tools and practices that support our ascension. If you'd like to break down some of your personal tools and practices, or just different tools and practices others might find useful for this process, I'd love.
Oh, absolutely. So many things that I do. I'm an avid reader. So I'm constantly reading things, not just self help books, but any books that are spiritual, that are inspirational. I'm reading those on a regular basis. I couple that with my empath, my HSP learning. I couple that with being out in nature. I couple that with my meditation and my prayer time. My goal, like I said a little earlier, is to make sure that I have several different tools to fill my cup up. If I'm feeling a little empty, I might pop into a room on Clubhouse, not say anything, just fill my cup. If I feel like I'm running a little empty and I just need someone to talk to share an experience with, I will call someone to get that experience out of my energy field, to make sure that I'm not carrying that heavy load. The key here is, if you can continue on a consistent basis on your ascension journey, understanding that the reason you're able to feel other energy is because you are an energy. The reason you're able to gauge what's in the room as a spirit being is because you are congregating with other spirit beings. And if we can look beyond these flesh suits and understand what the dynamics of just being a spirit being in the earth plane is, it isn't spooky. It's just a reality, is that we are not shells. We are not just shells of human flesh. There is an aliveness within us, and any tool that you can use. I read my Bible, I have books, I watch videos, I hop in on Clubhouse, meditation, being out in nature. Sometimes I travel and I just go to a remote place where I can just see landscape and not buildings and road construction and all of that kind of stuff. You have to find out what is going to suit you best. I also am very cognizant of how long I speak to people that are in an angst state, or how long I yield my energy to someone that is draining. And it doesn't mean I just cut people off. It means I use my own inner wisdom to guide me in every conversation. And it almost sounds like perfection, but it actually is easy when you practice on a regular basis, tuning into yourself first before you begin to communicate and collaborate with.
I love that. I think that's bringing awareness around our energetic boundaries and basically, again, going inward and touching base with ourselves and really understanding what our needs are in that moment and what we need to do to protect our energy and also connect with energy and other individuals that we see on a soul level. So I love that. I know I've talked to you often, and you mentioned giving yourself a spiritual bath. Do you want to talk about that and what that experience is like?
Oh, absolutely. Honey, I live and die by my spiritual baths. I began spiritual baths maybe about 5 to 6 years ago. I read an article regarding the elements of different Epsom salt, essential oils. Um, Anyone that is really highly sensitive probably know all about essential oils and Epsom salt. But there have also been times where I've created my own spiritual bath with Epsom salts and the oils that I really like using, rose petals. um, Typically I will do a warm bath and I will add my essential oils. I add my Epsom salt. I typically will have white candles, and I will just put on some meditation music, or sometimes I will just sit in silence. I understand that the properties of the Epsom salt help remove toxins from the body, help bring you into an energetic balance. And typically, and I oftentimes say this even when I'm talking to people about your spiritual bath. Your spiritual bath is not for you to get clean. Typically I will have taken a shower before I do my spiritual bath. The spiritual bath is to clean you energetically. It is for an energetic clean to bring you back into that balance. And so I don't add anything that is not natural. Like, I love bubble bath, and I mean, talk about me later, but I love the kids bubble bath and I will buy it just for me. But when I am doing my spiritual bath, I do not use any sort of store bought that isn't anything that isn't organic. I don't put it in the water because what I'm trying to do is achieve balance, and I don't want elements in the water that are not from a natural source. And typically it's a 20-25 minute, or at least till the water gets cold. And when I come out refreshed. And it's literally not a mind thing. I meditate while I am in the water, and anything that I've dealt with during that day that I need to release, I begin to release it through that meditation practice, through affirmations. And I feel so much lighter after I'm done. And I typically do a spiritual bath once a week, um, give or take, if I'm not, on the road.
I love that. I love just that simple process. I'm actually quite envious of your bathtub. I do not have a bathtub. I do feel very called to water as a soothing element for me as a highly sensitive person. So even just taking a shower, it's not the same as a bath, but I do use water quite frequently to transmute those energies and emotions that may be harboring in my body. So I think that's a beautiful example.
Julie,
Um,
I wanted to add that I'm glad you mentioned shower, because there are people that don't have tubs. The thing is, you're doing it when you come in contact with water, whether you're walking around a lake, whether you are taking a shower, Any sitting in front of, on the sand, at the ocean, the dynamics of the water, the molecular structure of the water will bring you into balance. So, anytime, even if you don't have a tub, a shower does the same thing as a spiritual bath. It's about how you set your intention as you are taking that shower, as you're walking around that lake, as you're sitting on the sand in front of the ocean, because the molecular structure of the water begins to bring the balance and help with the release.
I love that. Yes. And I love that you brought up the word intention because, again, when we focus and are mindful in regards to what we want to create from that experience, we don't have to have everything in order, but that intention can really help transmute anything that is uncomfortable or causing us discomfort, or maybe our cup is empty. We are having triggering experiences and we're just feeling off balance. And so that intention setting, I think, is so key to creating that direction and that projection of where we want to go. And I think that is, for highly sensitive people, one of the most important things you can do is collecting our energy and putting that focus in through intention. I think is huge. So I love that you shared that. I did put hand raising back on. So if you would like to come up on stage here and join in the conversation, reflect on anything that's been discussed, or even ask Kelly questions or myself, I will go ahead and bring people up. And Jennifer is here. You have a different picture. I didn't even recognize you, Jennifer. Let me pull up some other people. Okay. Yay. Thank you for coming to stage, everyone. It's so great that you're joining in the conversation. I'll go ahead and mute myself and pass the mic over to.
Good morning, everybody. Julie, thank you so much for this room. It's just amazing whenever I can make it in here. Kelly, I really resonated with your point about being in a group of people or a person, like you were talking about. I had this realization a couple weeks ago. I met up with a group of friends, and like halfway through the meetup, like maybe an hour and a half in, I started feeling like really drained, like I couldn't really keep up with my energy in the conversation. And I kind of felt like almost like an embarrassment, like looking back, like, oh, why did I say that? Why did, like that kind of feeling, like just not at my top. And on the drive home, I was like, well, that's happened a lot before. Why if it happens next time, or like plan ahead next time to take a break and like just go sit outside and take a couple breaths, and or excuse myself to go to the bathroom or something, and I just think that's so funny because you just described the exact same thing that you were doing, so I feel very smart. I have a similar conclusion of what you do, so just wanted to share that quickly. Thank you, guys. Gratitude.
Jennifer, I love that whole "I feel so smart" thing. I'm gonna be chuckling about that the rest of the weekend. But it is true. We drain so very easily, and that indicator when you start feeling drained is your cue that maybe I need to excuse myself because there's a bit of heaviness. There's a pull on me, and it's so easy for us to restore ourselves. Just that short separation period will give you just a time, just a walk to the bathroom or just to step outside, grab fresh air, and you would be amazed how much more refreshed you feel when you come back into the room. But as long as you sit there, I have the same experience. I get a brain fog. If I keep sitting there long enough, my brain gets foggy and I'm no longer even engaged I'm there in body, but I'm not really engaged in the conversation. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I had to, I think the side lesson too was just like get over my FOMO. Also, like, I'm not going to miss out on anything, and it in the end, I even if I did miss out on something, at least the parts that I was a part of, it was like my full best self, rather than me kind of scraggly hanging in there.
I love it. And I just want to know, how cool is that as highly sensitive people, I feel like we are gifted a little more awareness and the ability to respond to that inner world and that inner wisdom guidance. We have accessibility to that. And a lot of people don't even explore that in their lifetime. But because we're, I want to say, sometimes painfully aware of everything that's happening inside us and outside at the same time, it really does give us this gift of recalibration and sitting with those feelings and emotions, bringing awareness to them, and then making adjustments in that moment. I think is something HSPs are really gifted with. So that does aid into our ascension journey. It does aid into our spiritual growth and our awareness of what messages are coming from within us. So that's just really cool that, you figured out that you were really smart because you were already doing that, Jennifer. I love that. That's beautiful.
I'm sorry, one more quick thing because you said, oh, now I've already forgotten it. Alignment or something you said, like coming back into that. And I feel like it is connected to ascension because when I'm tired like that too, like how you're describing, like the brain just kind of fog, like running out of its food, just not functioning right. I feel like then my old habits and insecurities and all these things that I have used to maneuver in the world that aren't what I want right now because I'm going through that spirituality ascension, what have you, and I think that's another part of the looking back and like, oh, not embarrassing, but also just like I didn't want to do that, I didn't want to go back to that place. So thank you.
Sounds like you're making some eggs or bacon. I
Yes.
love it. Uh, all right. Well, I will go ahead and pass the mic. I'm sorry. Is it Jal? I'm probably not saying your name right. I know we've connected here in Clubhouse, but I am horrible at vowels because of my dyslexia. So please let me know how to pronounce your name. This is.
Hi, Julie. Hello, Kelly, Jennifer, and everyone here in the room. Hello, it's so nice to be with you guys. My name is Jael, and don't worry, I'm also a bit dyslexic, so no shame, no nothing, just friends. Okay, so we're safe. Yeah, so I just wanted to say that I resonate so much with what you're saying, guys, because especially right now, after the full moon, after all the eclipses, right, we have all this energy that is not just around us or in us, but is also now um, in the people that we socialize with, and it's wonderful to see how we've been, like Jennifer said before, like we've been activated, like we are going through some kind of an ascension or an inner most profound connection with our true selves. And even though indeed I agree for most of us it has not been an easy journey, right, but I believe that right now we are in a position that we can truly lovingly, authentically support other people without putting our own health or our own welfare at risk. And that is something that's wonderful because, for example, in my case, guys, I'm just going to tell you, I'm a very, very nervous person. And for me to speak in public is terrible, right? It's terrible. But I could do some stuff on Clubhouse, especially when I feel that the energy of the people is just comfortable. So yeah, I just wanted to say that water is essential for all of us. Every time I go out, I come back home and I have a shower, whether I like it or not. It's just non-negotiable anymore in my life, and I can feel like what you said, Julie and Kelly, before, that it just rinses all the whatever that I was carrying with me, and that is so unconscious, right? I tend to absorb things without being intentional. It's just something that happens, and until I find a way to truly empower myself, I will continue to, have my own rituals, like my candles, like all of you guys, just really invite people to ground ourselves, because sometimes people look for the quick way out, especially people who have recently been activated, right? They just don't want to feel anything. But I can only tell you from my heart that this is happening to all of us, and it doesn't have to be a painful transformation, right? So that's me. This is Jaya.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I love, JL, what you just said. It doesn't have to be a painful transformation. And I love that because if we are not careful, transformations will burden us as empaths, as HSPs, as spiritual beings, as spiritual people, as ascended people, whatever you want to call yourselves. It can be burdensome if we allow it. But I believe we really can enjoy learning more about ourselves and understanding the true nature of our energetic environment. So I love that.
And I was just going to add, I couldn't agree with you more about the water aspect. I've always been attracted to water, different lakes, rivers, streams, grew up playing in cricks and creeks and playing with crawdaddies. It was always something that was soothing, but I didn't know it was soothing, especially as a young child. But as I've gotten older and I've spent time near water, it is very much a soothing practice. And one of the things that I always do after Clubhouse is take a shower. I always have to rinse off all this energy that I've been entangled with, even though it's just a voice app. It is something that I do as a regular ritual. So I love that water was brought up. Thank you so much for being here. And I would love to pass the mic off to Lynn. Thank you for your patience and waiting to speak. I'll go ahead.
Well, hi, Julie. Thank you for allowing me to come up and share. I have been in this room before, and Kelly, hi, Kelly. Oh, I get so excited. Oh, I love this conversation. I saw this in the hallway. I said, oh, yeah, Kelly's speaking. Julie's open her room. Oh, you see these little blue profiles. There's quite a few of us in here. Some of us have our profiles up, some of us don't. I am a part of this community called Ascension. And I love that this word is in the title. And as you described one definition, Julie, and I listened to Kelly, I want to tell everybody that's in the Ascension community, Kelly is one of my mentors. I have learned so much from Kelly. The moment I heard her speak, this is what a highly sensitive person knows. The moment I heard her speak, I said, "Oh, that is my mentor. I know she is." She was immediately connected in my heart. And I just love you so much. I had to give you all those flowers. So my thing is, so in this community, the Ascension community that I'm a member of, we have been reading this book called Frequency. It's our second time reading it, The Power of Personal Vibration. And in the earlier chapters of this book, it touches on the highly sensitive person. And it really describes how we are born naturally empathic, naturally highly sensitive. And then it started to describe how as babies, this is our only state of awareness. As babies, as infants, when another baby cries, the baby automatically cries because of another baby crying. It automatically senses. It is inner feeling, and I sent Kelly this back channel message when she spoke about ascension is not just going higher, but going inward regularly. I thought, oh, empathy is the same as inner sympathy. That's how it rang for me. And I love that because it's synonymous for me. In order for me to kind of have that higher nature, that view, it's required that I go inner. I have to go inner. That's how I get that higher view. That's how I see it. So when we were talking in this room about, highly sensitive people, there was a psychologist. There's a book called The Highly Sensitive Person, Elaine Aron, and she was describing how adults, when they get to the adult age, only 50% of adults even identify with themselves as being sensitive. 20% of them, according to her book, identify with themselves as being highly sensitive. And then 30% are, kind of in the middle. So the book really talks about how we are conditioned outside of that awareness, from the infant, and we grow up and we get conditioned with all the things in our environment and our family and all that kind of stuff. And then by the time we become adults, you have fewer people that are really connected in that way. So in one of our discussions, we talked, and I'm gonna wrap this up. We talked about, are women more sensitive than men? And then we got into that whole, divine feminine versus divine masculine and all that stuff. So I would love to hear either Kelly or Julie. I would love to hear your thoughts, because what I kept hearing in that room was we kept talking about emotion versus sensitive as it relates to a direct experience with our source part of us. So I would love to hear your thoughts on if there is a difference, and if there is, what you would describe that difference being. So the difference between sensitive and emotional. So that's the question.
Thank you, Lynn. I couldn't agree with you more about Kelly. She's definitely someone that when you first connect with, you feel an instant connection with. And I'm so glad that you guys have had such a positive experience here in Clubhouse. I think you bring up a really important question. And I think having conversations around the trait highly sensitive person, and having conversations with people who call themselves an empath, there's a lot of overlap, if you will, but one of the key definitions or differentiations, and this is all based on Elaine Aron's research, that's who I instantly gravitated towards as far as my learning about highly sensitive people, because she has actual research. And her research is that our nervous system is wired differently, and we are able to deeply process information and process information longer. And that is all connected to our nervous system. And because of our ability to read other energy and understand people in a very subtle way, whether that's through body language, or maybe they're sharing with us and we're sensing something that's off with them, we're able to connect to those little subtle cues. And that's, again, a design of our nervous system. So we're always picking up everything in our environment, including the energies that are in the environment. Whereas my understanding, and again, I am not as rehearsed in the, I guess, research or education textbook knowledge of an empath. I consider myself an empath, but I never really knew what that meant. I just knew it from a feeling and sensing perspective. But when I think of empaths, I think of emotion and deep feeling. So you're, I guess, receiving a lot of emotions and feelings as kind of the experience of the empath, whereas the HSP is very much receiving through their nervous system. And that's why it's really important for us to energetically clear our bucket, if you will, and do these practices and tools like we've been bringing up here in the room, to kind of cleanse ourselves of that built up container so that we can experience um, the world without overwhelm and overstimulation. So that's my perspective on it, but I would love to hear what Kelly.
I love everything that you said, Julie, and I'm just going to add to that. The key with the emotions part of this is that we need the emotion for sensing and feeling. Okay, that is how you're going to sense and feel your way through a situation. But when you couple that level of wisdom and discernment that comes with along with being a highly sensitive person, a person that is integrating also your ascension journey, you're not being led by the emotion. You know what is behind it. You have an emotional mind and a logical mind that is separate. It is not all entangled together. When you're just driven by your emotions, that typically gets us into a lot of trouble. But as an HSP, as the empath, we are able to discern very clearly, what is this emotion from a trigger? Is this emotion from codependency? Is this emotion from a rejection wound? Is this emotion from an abandonment wound? We're able to identify. That's the key, identification. If it is just a blanket emotion with no identification and you drive on that emotion, it gets you in trouble. But when you utilize that inward knowing, and you're able to separate that feeling from what is logical, and you add the discernment, you add the wisdom of the HSP that is untainted and very clear cut, you're able to see the.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you for taking that question. And if I can just share this real quick, anybody, especially in the Ascension community, please click on that greenhouse at the top, because this is one of those clubs you want to stay connected to, and especially follow Kelly and Julie. I learned so much from them every single time I hear them speak. Thank
Thank you so much, Lynn. I appreciate it. And I definitely gave your club a follow. I'm very intrigued by your Ascension community. And I always appreciate your energy in the room. So thank you so much for being here and asking your question and just sharing your gifts with us. Thank you so much. I will go ahead now and pass the mic over to Tanya. Thanks for being here, Tanya.
Thank you, Julie. Always grateful to be in this room and grateful to learn, from Kelly and hear all that she had to share. And I just kind of wanted to share some pieces that, resonated with me. I too have always had a love for water, never really, understood that, so to speak, growing up, just knew that it was something I gravitated towards. And along my journey of what I call kind of coming back home to myself, shedding the layers of all the shit that really has not ever been me, and coming back home to who I truly am, which is this highly sensitive empath. I have discovered, what is my truth and what serves me. And definitely, I love taking like Epsom salt baths. I love, 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 and resonate deeply with essential oils because I can feel the vibration of the oils when I use them. It really helps to shift things for me. I use like magnolia oil every single day. Always, I have certain oils I will put on before I leave the house. I carry my oils with me all of the time. And so, an example of where I'm learning discernment for what is mine and what is somebody else's. I work in a clinic, and my supervisor has been under an immense amount of stress. And recognizing when all of a sudden I just randomly have a headache. It took me a while. And then I looked over at her and I said, "Do you have a headache?" Because I knew that there was no reason for me to have a headache. She had a headache. So it's like I was energetically picking up on her emotional stress and her energy. And like I can feel in my body times when like her anxiety, I'm picking up on that. And like I too will be like, I'm going to go to the restroom, or I will make it a point to get out of somebody's energetic field to come back to my center. And that's something I have just probably within the last year or two become more aware of, that is something that I do. Like, I didn't understand when I would all of a sudden get really tired, like tired to the point to where like my eyes are closing when I would be around certain people, or, and I'm becoming aware enough now that I recognize that they're either depleting my energy, their energy is just a little bit too much for me. So I do need to remove myself from their space for a little while in order for me to come back to my center. And I also live with a partner who's amazing. He is actually an HSP also. And the interesting dichotomy between the two of us, when you were speaking about like empath and whatnot, I'm very big into human design, and a piece that is interesting between the two of us that I have discovered, and I don't know if anybody else is into human design, but in human design, one of the centers that they say or correlate with is your solar plexus. And if that center on your chart is not colored in, it's white, then they consider that individual as an empath. I know myself, I am an empath. Dude, that center is open. My partner's is not. My partner's is colored in. So that's the other piece that I'm really being given that opportunity to really discern, okay, and what I'm actually feeling in this moment mine, or am I literally just amplifying his emotions that to him could be on like a level 2? But because that center is undefined in me and I'm amplifying that, then that basically, it could feel like a 2 in his body because he's used to having all of those emotions all of the time. For me, it could feel like a 6 or an 8. And so that has been conversations that I have gotten to have with him of like, okay, can you bring your energy down a little bit, or I need to take 15 because, and it's not that he's raising his voice. It's not any of like that unhealthiness. It's just his energy is big. He's a manifester. So his energy is very big, and it can be too much for me sometimes. So having that awareness has been an amazing key in our relationship because I am very highly sensitive. I also have like one of the most sensitive gates in the entire chart is my life's work. And so being in tune with that, knowing that I am that sensitive and tuning into what is it that I need. So I appreciate all of the reflections and all of the things that both you and Julie and everybody in the room has shared. It just helps to kind of confirm that like I've kind of been leading from like that inner knowing of like, this is what feels good to me without really knowing like where that came from, if that makes sense. But that's my long ramble. So thanks for listening.
Thank you, Tanya. And I love how you shared that this is an ongoing process with you and your partner. What a gift that is. And I too second human design. Literally, if I didn't have knowledge and awareness about my own human design, this club would not exist. I learned from someone at the beginning of the year that I should stop trying to interject through copy and written word, and I should definitely be using my voice. And Clubhouse coincided with that awareness, and I immediately started rooms called Highly Sensitive People Unite because I wanted that voice interaction with other sensitive humans and to build that community and connection. Really all stemmed from my awareness of Elaine Aron's work and what's needed to survive and thrive as an HSP, but also what fed my soul is building that community that I had never really experienced in person, but was able to create that and connect with that on a global level through this audio app. So I just want to say HSP Club is here because of human design. That is a very much real thing for me as well. So I appreciate everything that you've shared. And I also wanted to note, it's funny that I probably have been doing different things that lead me on that ascension journey, and I never really labeled it as such. And I like that we're all kind of sharing those different experiences and what that looks like for us and how that's different. But that inner journey with ourselves is something that I've had for as long as I can remember. And whether that's through journaling or recognizing, like you said, is this experience coming from an ego place or a past trigger, or is it really a little nudge for us to be curious and to look deeper at the different things that may be coming up from inside of us, that inner spiritual soul connection with ourself that I think is so important to cultivate. So, and with being a highly sensitive person, I think it's a little bit easier than people who are not as sensitive. That's just my thoughts.
I fully agree with you, Julie, and I'm glad you made that the point, because there are times when many don't necessarily pay attention to the word ascension, because they see ascension as more of a religious word or more of a spiritual word, as opposed to it doesn't give you a thoughts of freedom, put it that way. And so on your journey as an HSP, as an empath, because we got labels for everything. We got labels for everything. But if we can manage just to drop the labels and really see it as just a journey. I am on this journey. Of course, we need the words because we've got English and we've got a language, and that the words help us to explain. But if we can manage to see it just as this journey that I am on, that I am able to really just be centered and stay in touch. First with myself. I like what Tanya said. She's able to share with her partner. Can you tone down just a little bit? Um, it's wonderful to be able to have people around you that really understand you, because you understand you, so you can communicate to them how we can make our communication and our time together better. I love this whole conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much, both of you. I appreciate what you expressed and what you shared. It has been a journey. I didn't understand why it was that until I discovered human design, why it was that like I struggled with the fact that his energy is so big, and that I felt like I needed to ask him to kind of tone it down some, or that I needed to kind of remove myself during those times. And so I feel like that human design kind of just like gave me that framework and that language to be like, oh, this is why. And and it I feel like it just helped our communication that much more, and that understanding and respect of like how we are, because we are very different. Our human designs are very, very different. And so just like both of you said, having that self-awareness is, I feel like, key to be able to communicate to those around us. This is how I'm designed and created. This is how I'm meant to be in this world. And I'm not necessarily fully asking you to understand it, but I am asking you to please just simply respect that this is how I am. And that's been a big key for me. And I feel like it can be a big key for everybody, is just, they just want the respect of like, please just respect the fact that this is how I am. I'm not asking for you to change me. I don't want to change. I love who I am just the way I am, but just please respect that. So
Thank you, Tanya. And I love that too. I think it's kind of a trap that highly sensitive people sometimes think that the world around us needs to change, but there are things that we need to handle as highly sensitive people to ground ourselves and to build that connection with ourselves so that we can navigate around our environment and other energies, and also speak to our needs, because I think that's having strong boundaries, and also knowing oneself, knowing what your needs are so key in our survival. And being quiet and going inward is how we really discover what our true needs are. So, and that is an always evolving process, because what we may need today might look different than what we need next month. So that's why this is always a continuous inward process. So I love that. And I'll go ahead and pass the mic off to, is it Shriram? Am I getting your name pronounced?
Yeah, you said it right.
What would you like to share?
So I have not a, I don't want to share anything, but it's like a question. You can speak on it. You're all much more mature than me. I'm just about 23 years old. So, like, in this ascension or whatever growth that we have mentally or whatever, so I find that whenever we are faced with any problem as highly sensitive people, like when our expectations fail or something just happens, something that we were not expecting, and it brings us down like anything. Like compared to other people, we can't handle it equally. So we get disturbed much more, and it's like we are starting again from ground zero. So how to handle this disturbances and unexpected situations and stuff, like you can speak on it, right? Thank you.
I think what you are asking, I just want to make sure, is what you're saying is that when things happen to us, we tend to go down a little lower. And it takes us a bit to kind of maybe build up our resources. I think that one of the reasons why we go down maybe a little lower is because we are deep feelers. And there's not as many blockages within us. We are open, and there's not as many things to stop that downward spiral. But when you begin to feel yourself going downward quickly, there are things you can do. We are very powerful beings. Whether you use your thought process and affirmation, getting out in nature, separating yourself, we can use those same tools to kind of slow that momentum. And you don't always have to hit rock bottom each time an event happens, because in truth, we can't prevent life from happening. It's going to continue to happen on a daily basis, but you can slow that trajectory down. And the way that one of the ways that you could do that is you have to be in a constant practice of slowing it down. It's kind of like what they used to share with us when we were children: practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. Practice every time something happens. And I think that this will be helpful. Practice slowing that downward spiral down by interrupting the momentum with an affirmation, or with saying, I'm okay. This has happened, but I'm okay. Just one statement can slow it down tremendously. This has happened. I didn't expect it. I'm having to take a detour, but I am okay. I still feel safe. This has happened, but I still feel safe. Just one thought can shift the whole trajectory of that downward spiral, because really what is bringing it constantly down is the thought process of, oh my god, something bad has just happened. This is the worst thing in the world. What else is going to happen for me today? Is anything else bad going to happen? We continue to drag it down with like an anchor. If you can just begin to interrupt that momentum at the onset of the event. And sometimes it's easier said than done. I believe that it can kind of break the fall so that you don't go all the way down each time, and just continue to practice that as much as you can. This is Kelly.
This is Julie. I love what you shared. And I think, again, getting caught in that mind chatter can be really hard for HSPs. And I just wanted to add that from the perspective of being a highly sensitive person, one of the things that we really have to key into is approaching our lifestyle from a different perspective. We really need to go at our own pace. We need to slow down. We need more alone, quiet time. And this is all based on Elaine Aron's research. So, one of the things that I highly recommend for all HSPs is to really take stock of how much time you're dedicating to slowing down, because when these different life experiences come into our field, when we're rested, when we're grounded, when we are able to kind of transmute that energy that's coming at us and slow down, kind of like what Kelly shared, then we can start to pivot and again set that intention to go in a different direction. But I can 1000% relate to your experience of just feeling like so many different life experiences, and I definitely have another 20 years on you. So I can say from my own life experience, looking back, there are so many things that really took me down a dark path because I didn't have those practices in place. And because I didn't trust myself, I didn't have that connection with myself, I allowed those outside influences to really tear me down. So taking that time to slow down, also cultivate that slow down time to be a connection with yourself and being really reflective is also going to help you ground, build better boundaries, and ultimately make your needs a priority. So that's my 2 cents on that. Let me know if that resonates.
Thank you. Really liked your insights on it and what Kelly mentioned about not going to the bottom. Like, don't let the situation pull you down so much. Slow it down. Our receptivity is more so we can handle it only if at a certain level. We can't let it just pierce through us. So that's very important to slow it down, right? That I think that's something that I need to really add to my life every day. Thank you so much.
I love that. And it is a practice. So there's never an end destination. It will be something that we'll be doing here on this planet as long as we're here. So, take your time with it. Be patient with yourself. Don't put a lot of expectation on yourself, but just cultivate that awareness and practice those tools that will help you on your journey as much as you can. And it's no perfect journey. I can say I'm 46 years old. I have been on a spiritual journey for at least 2 decades intentionally. And it is still something that I need to remind myself to practice, that I need to fit into my schedule and bring awareness when I feel that I am drowning and not taking care of myself. So I just wish you well on your journey. And with that, I will pass the mic off to Life. How are you, Life? This is
Hi, everyone. First of all, I just want to thank everyone that's here, particularly the hosts, Julie and Kelly. And I appreciate what everyone has shared today. I learned a lot. Thank you, Kelly, for the spiritual strategies that you shared with us. I have 2 little ones, and we definitely need that spiritual bath time. It was inspirational to hear everyone's inner journey. As a Muslim Sufi, and I know this doesn't have to do with religion, I resonate with everything that has been said because this is the core of what I believe. When we turn inward, we become more intuitive to our own energy and to the energy around us, whether it's a situation, the people around us. When we become more conscious of our thoughts, the words we say, what we post, when we're more conscious, like in our actions, then we slowly can hear the energy around us. It's like a frequency. It's like a frequency wave of clearing the path, like Julie said, clearing the blockage. So yeah, uh, there's a German
spiritual teacher who doesn't follow any religion. His name, I'm sure many of you know him. His name is Eckhart Tolle. I don't know how to pronounce it, Eckhart Tolle, but he somewhat says, he says like highly sensitive people are like is someone being conscious. He calls them being conscious. And like in the outside world, people who are just focused on their work or materialistic world, like we were talking about, people who are not even focused on nature and all of that, they think it's kind of rubbish what some of us do here. And so when those people who are just focused on the materialistic world, he calls them, like, sometimes, not everyone, but they're unconscious people. So yeah, and we're like here, the group, we're on and off. I'm talking about myself, on and off, highly sensitive person. Sometimes we do kind of get distracted with things. I honestly do believe that being a highly sensitive individual is not for just one person. It's not for the elite. It's not only for a certain religion. It can be, and the beauty of it is it can be done by any human being. It's a spiritual path open to all. And the best thing about the spiritual journey of being a highly sensitive person is that we don't need to be rich. You don't need things to kind of activate this. You don't need to go to a certain place to kind of, it's everything we need is inside of us. All you need in this journey is just you. And I think that has to ring a bell with everyone, because it just fits for everyone. What I believe the key to ascension, for me anyway, is through tasawwuf. Tasawwuf is an Arabic word which means the study of inner purification. So like what Kelly was talking about, she was saying, we need to turn inward. Yes, exactly. For me anyway, turning inward means inner purification. The more we purify ourselves by purifying our thoughts, intention, purifying our actions, basically, the more we do good, then the more we ascend, the more sensitive to the energy field inside and around us we become. So the more we better ourselves, our character, our thoughts and intention, then we can become more attuned to the energy around us. But when our own energy is negative, our thoughts are negative, or for example, my intentions behind things are negative, I'm doing it for bad reasons, or the way I'm treating people, these things, when our own energy is negative, it's very hard for you to hear and listen to the energy around you and the energy inside of you, because you're not attuned. You didn't, like Julie said, you didn't remove that blockage. The spiritual journey is a continuous one. Like, this is what I've been hearing from everyone, and I completely agree with everyone. The spiritual journey, this being a highly sensitive person, is a continuous, ongoing journey that has ups and downs, which is normal for me anyway. I have that a lot, but but we should keep going. We should keep doing things with love, beauty and light. And the beauty of this journey is that the more your energy is positive, you can affect the people around you. But and like Kelly said, she says something beautiful. Her spiritual teacher, a teacher, sorry, she said, someone like a teacher for 20 days or something. She said sometimes his energy was off, and she would go off. So yeah, so we need to build our energy, and if we're down, we need to charge ourselves, just like a phone. We need to sometimes charge ourselves. So yeah, I'm gonna, sorry, I spoke a lot, but I'm new to the group, and I love what everyone's saying, and I'm very happy to be surrounded with such a beautiful community. So may we all keep turning inward, purifying ourselves constantly, and spiritually ascend to goodness, light, peace and love. So thank you for allowing me to speak. Sorry.
Oh, I loved your share, life. I loved how you specified this journey that we're on is not connected to any religion. Anybody can do it. That's what makes it so great, that we all are here from different backgrounds. Any of us can do this, and we're not inhibited in any way. And I love how you really brought that forward, because I think it's an important point to make when we talk about ascension and spirituality, that No single path is better than another. You have to figure out what's going to work best for you.
Thank you so much for sharing as well. There's an energetic, I guess, pull to this room. I can tell because a lot of us that are showing up here to speak are on that path. And we're obviously from all sorts of different backgrounds. And I love that, again, we're just tuning into that opening, that awareness, that inner journey is not connected to a particular religion or a philosophy of thinking, but yet it's something that we can continually open and be on that journey with. So thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for being in this space. I didn't think you spoke too long at all. I thought everything you shared had great value. So thanks again for being here. And I would love to pass the mic off to Lisa. This
Hi, Julie. Hi, Kelly. Thank you, thank you, thank you for holding this space because I just got sucked into this and I'm so grateful to be here. Um, yeah, I've been listening to all of you and thank you so much because I've been on this journey. I'm 55 and I can say from my own experiences that everything happens in divine timing. But when I look back and reflect, I say, wow, that makes sense. I've had people, my mother, my mother-in-law, you're just sensitive, aren't you? And I heard that a lot. I also was a night person, and I've come to realize that's because I get to have my alone time away from all the energies that I exposed myself to. And water, or I'm in Delaware, water, but it's water, I know. Wow, wait, what a difference when I'm in that water. I mean, I grew up on the ocean. I grew up sailing, grew up fishing as much as I could be in the water. I was in the water. Didn't recognize the need, the benefit, what it did for me. But now it's like you said, Julie, I'm an Epsom salt bath, bubble bath. I couldn't do without that. Now I know how much that helps me. And also, Tanya, when you mentioned about essential oils, I learned, thank you so much. I haven't really delved into essential oils. I'm going to check that out. So thank you so much. And I've wanted to share, I'm using water, it's called water violet flower essence for myself so that I can learn to speak up for myself and be able to be in crowds, and it's helping me. So I didn't know if that would help someone else. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for this room. I'm a huge fan. I just um, hit the green button up top, highly sensitive people. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Just wanted to say.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm so glad that you're here and you found value out of this community space. We're really happy you're here, and thanks for sharing your journey and process. And again, hitting on that water note, I think is just again in reflection. It definitely has showed up in my life without even knowing that that was a part of my process to kind of cleanse and reset and ground my energy. So again, thanks again for being here.
And
Um,
Julie, I'm sorry, I missed the beginning of that, and I came in on the end. So I also want to say thank you for having this on replay because I will be listening to it.
Yay! I'm glad that you are happy to see the replay. I know
Yeah.
sometimes that might make sensitive people shy away from sharing, and it really hasn't been my experience yet so far. And I know 11 a.m. On a Thursday isn't going to meet the needs for everyone as far as tuning in live. So to have replays available and have that accessibility to people who are not able to join us live is another exciting part of this community. So thanks for saying that.
And can I ask Julie and Kelly, with your experience, do you find when you are out in a crowd or you around a lot of energies that you're releasing from your sacral a lot? I'm just going to say it. I urinate a lot. Like it's like I thought it was I had a small bladder problem, but I think I've come to realize it's because that's my way of releasing from my sacral, from my energy. Just curious on your thoughts on.
I have not had that experience. Typically, when I am around a lot of energies, and even when I am releasing a lot, I feel energetic waves through my body. That and I can tell that I am releasing at that point. But I've never had a physical release so far as urination. But I do feel like energetic waves that flow.
That makes sense. Yeah, I do. I feel that. And I was going to tell my mother the same thing because we have the same problem. And I've noticed that. So thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And I would love to go ahead and pass the mic off to Maria. Good to
Hi, Julie. Hi, Kelly. Hi, everyone. My name's Maria. Lisa, I've never thought about that, but as you mentioned the urination part, I'm just like, my entire life, I've always had to go to the bathroom everywhere I went where there was a huge crowd. And now I'm just like, that makes so much sense now. And my family would always get mad at me because I would always have to go to the bathroom, but it's like, that makes so much sense. I'm like that. I never put the two and two together, so that's just a big aha for right now.
Yeah,
Thank you for asking that question.
it's like you're releasing from the collective energy. That's how
It is
I
so
am taking it
weird.
in. Yeah.
That is like, yeah, I've never thought, like, I know where every single bathroom is in every single mall and every store I've ever been to because that is so interesting. Okay, well, that was not my question or my comment, but I'm glad that Lisa asked that question. I've really enjoyed this room, but I just let's see if I can word this question where it makes sense. Kelly and Julie, you've both done such a great job explaining how we can kind of go on this ascension process, going within. And as you both know, I've made a lot of changes in my life in the past few years. I guess part of the struggle for me has been this, like, I have this intense connection with something else, and it's getting stronger, like, more and more. But there's almost like a sense of disappointment because I can't share it with the people around me as much, or I don't know what it is that, like, yesterday I finished reading this really good book. It's like for young adults, it's a fiction book, and it's just so beautiful. And I'm like hugging it and crying at the end of it. And then, like, I try to share with my husband, like, oh, you have to read this book. It's just so beautiful. And I just felt so connected to something bigger by reading this book. And it happens often more now than ever. But it's hard for me to kind of, it almost feels lonely, if that makes sense, but not lonely and like I'm all alone, but I don't know. So I guess, how do you straddle that line when you're kind of going through this process and you're evolving and you're making these choices, and then you kind of look around in the life you're in and you're kind of alone, if that makes any sense.
Hey, Maria, it makes a lot of sense. I have had periods of my life like that where the journey I was on did not yield a lot of comrades. And at first, it was very difficult because I would have liked to have shared some of my experiences with someone that understood. But what I began to do as time went on is what I did is I turned those times that I felt was lonely as the times that I use to enhance myself and to heal myself and to deal with the things that I needed to deal with inwardly. And then simultaneously, what started happening was I started to connect with those that thought like me. And most of them were not in my family. So when I begin to make those connections, like Julie, for instance, it's nothing for me to, when we're talking, for me to share an experience with her because I know she understands. But she was brought into my life through my energetic balance and my desire to have more people in my life that I could share with. I did go through a period of time like, why can't I have somebody in my family or close to me or one of my friends that really understood? But I quickly got over that because You don't get to choose who you connect with, and sometimes it's not within your family. That is, sometimes it may not be your partner or your or the significant other in your life, but there will be someone. I just worked on my energy so that I could draw those someones in, and now I have those people that if I need to bounce something off, I don't feel in that lonely space anymore. I've got somebody to bounce it off, and I am grateful for that.
Yes, that definitely helped. Yeah, I mean, that's how I met Julie as well. It just you open yourself up, and that makes a lot of sense. I guess it's just kind of the what you would consider growing pains, or you can't get to the next level without shedding that part of yourself. So that makes a lot of sense.
And I just wanted to say, Maria, I can completely relate to your experience of wanting to deeply share and connect on something that really spoke to your soul level and not feeling like you have that community or individual to share that process with. And then that's when I kind of remind myself that this is actually an individual journey, that my experience isn't about getting outside validation or having someone relate exactly to the experience that I'm going through, but rather in that opportunity when I feel alone, where can I lean into my inner guidance system? Where can I center myself so energetically, like Kelly mentioned, we are then attracting people versus trying to it's almost like beating someone over the head to catch up to our inner awareness, and that frustration is really tough because I can relate to that 1000%. So I think again, finding different people that get it without you having to educate them is huge, and a huge bonus if you're able to find that. And I think again, holding yourself in that energetic energy that is more loving, more grounded, is going to create that bridge for other people that are on that journey to join forces with you. That's my philosophy on it, but I hope that resonates with you. And we are just coming at the end of our room here, but I would love to also speak to, is it Lita? Please correct me if I'm not saying that right. This is.
Hello. Yes, it's perfect. My name is Lida, and as much as I know, it's Eastern European or Russian name, and it means popular and lovely, which I'm grateful for the meaning of it. Uh, First, I wanted to say to Maria that I totally understand you, and I'm there with you. And I just want to share this fun experience with you that I enjoy comedies a lot. I can understand nuance humor, and I laugh loud and deeply and a lot for some comedies. Like there are some pieces on SNL that I always share with my friends, and I'm like, "Oh, this is hilarious! This is so funny! You should watch it." And when they watch, they're like, And when I watch it with them, I'm laughing loud. I'm grabbing my tummy, and I'm like that. Maybe I look like a weirdo, but I don't feel offended about that because thanks to social media, there are always fans of books, songs, movies that people are enjoying them as much as you do. So you can share that experience with them. You can read their experiences, and it really is helpful, at least for me, to see that there are still so many people are enjoying these pieces and they're enjoying these books and movies, and I'm not alone. And I don't need to feel like very different. There are so many people like me, at least when they are enjoying this piece of. Comedy or movie or song. I wanted to share something with everyone which is very helpful for me, and I hope it can also help other people. When I get overstimulated, especially when I feel like someone made me angry or sad, uh, I just want to also add this. One of my psychologist friends told me that they are moving away from calling it triggering to calling it activating, to just avoid that negative value. I don't know what else I can call it. So I really like it. So I would call it when I feel like my highly sensitivity at its maximum is activated by some people or some situations. I have a notebook for myself, and when I'm in that situation and cannot come back to my ordinary life, I come to my bedroom and close the door, sit and take some deep breath and start reading my notebook. And in each page of it, I have some notes for myself. So you can have your own personalized notes for in your notebook which you think will help you in those situations. I want to read some of the things that I wrote in my notebook, and I hope it can be inspiring for other people. Like in one page I wrote, I feel blank. So when I read it, I describe for myself how I feel at that moment. So I want to get clear what is my feeling in that moment. In the next page, I wrote, I do not want blank again. So I can tell myself, I don't want what in that situation is happening. I don't want it to happen. Or sometimes when I'm in fight with my partner, here's the note. Am I ready to ask him, what do you think? And listen to him? So this is also helpful for people who are in relationships. Or sometimes I cannot recognize, is it anger or rage? So my note is anger or rage. Did you scare him? If yes, it's not anger, it's rage. Rage is not okay. And another one, sorry, I wanna read different things. Calm down. You can talk with him later. Take a walk. This is what I like. Drink CBC. Do chores, do schoolwork, bike, dance, write, play games, watch comedies, do a face mask. So I have this recommendation for myself. Sometimes my brain gets blank when I'm angry or that very highly sensitive mood. So it's good for myself to remind what I can do in that situation to make myself feel better. This is also from a book that I really liked, The Courage to be Disliked. I strongly recommend it to everyone. So my note is, part of it is your task, part of it is his task. Are you doing his task? This means that when, for example, someone makes you angry, so you can tell to those people that, hey, you're making me angry, I don't like what you do. So you are doing your task, you did your part. If you are expecting him to say something, do something for you, it's his task, not yours. So you should be aware of that. If you are expecting people to do something that is not really your task and their task, so sometimes you should just leave it alone. Or this is also very helpful. If you think about this in 5 years, will you remember it? Will you consider it was worth it? So again, this is very helpful. There is another one that I don't see it, but it's also very helpful. Find humor in it, in that event that made you angry or sad, or someone did something to you that you didn't like. What was funny about it? Find something funny about it. This also really helps me to smile in that moment, and very helpful. Or there's another one that I wrote. Imagine yourself from an outsider's perspective in this room now. What are you doing? Like, for example, am I laying in the bed? How I look? How is my face now? So imagining myself is kind of also like a quick meditation, which also helps me in that situation. There are some other things like make herbal tea for myself. So it can be very personalized, your own thing. You can find it from websites, your counselor, your own personal experiences. So I hope having this kind of notebook for all of you can be helpful in those situations.
I love that. What a beautiful thing to share. And I'm so glad this was recorded because we can all go back to those questions and integrate this practice if it resonates with you. And I think one thing that you brought up that really touched me is having that awareness to write down. You used the word, what it's not trigger. What do you call it again? Activating, and then maybe taking note of what is activating us as highly sensitive people, bringing awareness to that. And then, like, you had your own little blueprint, how to get out of maybe that mindset so that you're not going down that deep, dark, negative spiral, and really taking responsibility for your feelings and emotions, and then giving yourself those tools and practices that are loving and caring towards your personal experience. So that is beautiful. And I think anyone in this room would be able to do what you mentioned. And I think that's a really helpful tool. So thank you so much for. Did you want to say something, Kelly?
Yeah, I was having a hard time getting my getting my mic off. But I was gonna say pretty much the same thing you said, Julie. I love that idea of questioning yourself or putting that thought down and letting it resonate. I see that as a very great tool to use, and that's something that's doable. It only takes a few minutes for you to do it, and I love that. I absolutely.
All right, so we are at the end of our room here. I so appreciate all the beautiful souls that came up here on stage to share your experience and chime in on anything that has aided your personal ascension journey. I think, this replay is really valuable because we can go back and understand what everyone's individual process looks like and maybe integrate what resonates with us. I just want to have Kelly maybe share any words of wisdom to send us off so we can go about our day and feel a little more grounded within our ability to take on this journey and to let it flow through us instead of resisting it. And know that as highly sensitive people, we are given, I think, extra sensory gifts that allow this journey to be something that we are leaders in versus those who might be on that journey and don't have those gifts and talents to tap in as quickly and easily as we do as highly sensitive people. So would you like to share any words of wisdom with us, Kelly? And then we'll go ahead and close.
Oh, absolutely. I want us all just to remember that we are in this earth plane at this moment for a very specific purpose. And know that on your ascension journey, it's not just about you going higher spiritually. It's about you going inward regularly. Check in with yourself while you're on this journey. Give yourself compassion. Give yourself grace. Don't rush the process. And it is okay to take your time. It's okay to feel, and it's okay to connect with those that think like you. It's also okay to sit alone and to reflect inward and to see if there is anything that needs your attention. Sending you all love.
Thank you, Kelly. And I also just want to invite everyone to take time over the next couple weeks to reflect on this year and really wrap up any loose ends and really start the new year with a fresh, grounded perspective. That is definitely what I'll be doing for the last 2 weeks of the year. With the holidays, and also just I love that last week of the year that's after the holidays and before the new year. It's just such a natural reflection and also planning time. So use this time to go inward, see what worked for 2021, what you want to change for 2022, and do it with love and care. Because, again, this process doesn't need to be rushed. And take baby steps. We really only need to tweak and change things in little micro doses, I think is important than trying to do a big upheaval and change everything. So with that, I wish everyone a wonderful holiday season. Happy New Year. We will actually have one more room left in the HSP Club. You can check the club description. We will be off next week, and then Mindy will come in and talk to us about horses and how that relates to our sensitive nature. And that will kind of wrap up this year and everything that we've been doing in the HSP Club. And I have a lot more rooms coming in January and beyond. It's just this holiday season has been a bit tricky scheduling and being present. So thanks again for being here. This was such a wonderful room. And again, if you're listening to replays, thanks for listening. And if you're not already, please follow the club and check the description often, as I will be adding more rooms shortly. And with that being said, I wish everyone well and have a beautiful day.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.